Takadosh Boker on Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Yomi Daf Kavzayin Mudalev 2071. Says the Gemara Itmar, it was stated. Ed Zomem, when we're talking about an Ed Zomem, right? I mean, somebody comes and he testifies falsely and he became an Ed Zomem. Abaye comes and he says Lemafreya Unifsal, who becomes Pasul Lemafreya. Right? What does that mean, Lemafreya? Because once he became the Ed Zomem, so retroactively becomes Pasul. So if he gave, for example, testimony in between, so that also is disqualified because he became Pasul Lemafreya. Rava comes and he says, no, Mikanu Laba, only from the time of Hazama onward. So if he testified in between, right? So therefore it's still going to be kosher. Abaye according to Abaye, goes Lemafreya retroactively. Me'idna de Asid, because from the time that he testified, he's a Rasha. And the Torah says, do not place yourself with the Rasha. What does that mean? Al tashet Rasha ed, which means that the Chachamim come and they say that even though it says Al tashet yadecha im Rasha, right? It means Al tashet Rasha ed. Do not let the Rasha be an ed. Rava Amar, right? Kavzayin Mudalev 27a1. Yeah, Rava comes and he says, Mikanu laba unifsal. He becomes pasul mikanu laba. The ed zomem is a chidushu, right? What does that mean? My chazita de samachta hani, smocha hani. Why are you going to rely on these witnesses? Right? Rely on these ones. Meaning, if you really think about it, right, the entire concept of Ed Zomem is a chidush. Why? Because it's 2 against 2. 2 witnesses come and they say, you were with us in Honolulu. Why am I going to believe them? Maybe I'm going to believe these 2 witnesses. And maybe they're just coming to make us Edim Zomemim and really bet. So because of that, it's a chidush. So therefore, we don't go retroactively. We go just for the last thing. Okay? So says the Gemara, Ika de Amni, there's another explanation in Shitat Rava. Rava Nami Kavai Sirle, really Bemet Rava holds like a baye that mean a Torah, he should become Pasul Lemafreya. Umay Tam Kama, so why did he say then Mikanu Laba? Mishum Seda de Lekuchot. אתה יודע מה זה סדה ללקוחות? סדה? סדה דלקוחות. סדה דלקוחות means that we don't want people to lose out. Imagine right now, yeah, because what happens? Imagine right now, right? We come and we start doing transactions, and all of a sudden I find out that the ed that I use for my sale became an ed zomem 2 weeks before. So what? I lose out, and now everyone, because now I have no proofs, I have no this, I have not. What's going on? Because of Seder Lelekuchot, he comes and he says, no, you know what? It doesn't go retroactively. It goes mikan ulaba. From now onwards.
You did a transaction 6 months ago.
My benayu, what is the difference between them? So he comes and he says like this. He says, my benayu, what's the difference between them? He says, ika benayu, right? He says the difference between them is going to be dasidu beitrei bechad. You have 2 people, right? 2 groups of witnesses that are coming and they're going to testify on 1 witnesses to make them edzomem. Which means on every single one of the Edei Akata Rishona, there was a separate testimony. Okay? Everyone understood? One more time. Usually, the case of Ed Zomem is what happens? What's usually the case of Ed Zomem? No. That's a punishment. What is the case?
Two Edim came to testify, and then 2 other Edim said, you cannot testify, you were with us in Paris.
Exactly. Here we just changed that case. What do we just do? We didn't do 2 against 2. It was 2 against 1. How? 2 witnesses come into the Bedin, they testify that this person came and he did a loan. Whatever it is, in order not to go to something very, very bad. He did a loan. Okay, fine. 2 witnesses come on the Ed number 1, Ed Mispar 1. And they say, how did you testify about this guy, about this loan, if you were with us in Honolulu? And then another 2 witnesses come on Ed number 2. And they say, how did you testify about this guy that he made the thing if you were with us in yes, that's what we just said. Does he do beitrei, that they testified 2 people, beitrei, a group of 2, bechad, in 1. What does that mean? 2 kitot edim on 1 cut, make them that means al kol echad me'edei kat harishona, there was a cut nifredet of shtei edim saying imanu hayitem. So exactly, so according to that, Rava is the one that says en lecha bo ela chidusho. He says here there's no chidush. It's obvious that 2 against 1, you're going to believe 2. Meaning, again, one more time, what was machloket Rav and Abaye? The machloket Rav and Abaye says, do you go back lemafreya or mikanu laba? Right? Says Rava, according to first shita, it's only mikanu laba. Why? אין לך בו אלא חידושו. It's a חידוש עד זומם. Why? Why are you going to believe these two witnesses? Maybe the other two witnesses. Why are you believing which two of the witnesses? Yeah, but if you got 2 against 1, that according to everybody, it makes sense. So here you have 2 against 1 in each one. So according to that shita, for sure you're going to be believed, and therefore it should be that really be'emet it should go back, right? Lemafrea, right? But according to the other one, say that the lekuchot, we don't want the lekuchot to lose out. Inami, or if you want, you could answer another evdel between them. The paslinu begazlanuta. The second edim came and they were posel, the first edut, right, with gazlanim, not with iman wayitem. So in such a case, it's not a chidush that they're going to come and they're going to be believed, because they're not being soter the edut. They're just pasling the edim. Meaning, what happens if 2 witnesses come and they basically tell them you guys were gazlanim? So they didn't make them into edim zomemim mitzad iman wayitem, but they disqualified them to testify because they said they were gazlanim. So in such a case, right? So therefore, that's what we're trying to say over here. When we come and we say there's no chidush that they're going to become pasul, so since there's no chidush, it makes sense that it's going to go back to mafreya. If we came and we testified that you were a gazlan, but really, you were a gazlan already 2 months ago, so obviously you're going to come and you're going to make it pasul mafreya from the beginning. So anything that's going to happen in between. If you're going to tell me it's because of the psid lekuchot, it's something different. We don't want people to lose out, but here it's not a mianoitim. It's a completely different concept. It's basically making you pasul through a different mechanism, not the mechanism of imanuayitem, but rather because you guys were gazanim, and therefore you were pasul edut. Right? No? It is stronger just in the fact because the testimony in itself wasn't the testimony at all. Here, you're a good ed. The only thing is, you just couldn't have seen it. So it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? There's the technical issue. Right? Yeah, fine. Okay. But I'm saying... Kol edut. A gazlan is always pasul edut. And the reason is very, very simple. If a person is willing to steal, right? So therefore, he's willing to accept bribery in order to testify falsely. So therefore, right, because the money is more important to him than anything else. Right?
What is it in the case of
the Amar Rav Yomi Amidifti says Rav Yomi Amidifti, Avad Rav Papa, right? Rav Papi Uvda Kavate de Rava. He actually did the halakha like Rava, which means, right, that he paskin like, right, Rava, that they do not become disqualified limafrea, but rather from the time of Hazama onwards. The more Ravashi, right, what did he do? He said, Hilchata Kavate da Abaye. The halacha is like Abaye, which means that it goes limafrea retroactively. Vehilchata Kavaye, right, and the halacha is like Abaye, biyal kegam. So you guys just learned a klal in Shas. A general rule in all of Shas is usually the halacha is like Rava and not like Abaye. Usually. Right? One more time. You have a machloket, Abaye and Rava, right? And remember, Abaye and Ravas are, all throughout Shas. It's not just, there's a famous song, right? Abaye and Rava, right? To do with the concept of learning Torah, right? Of knowing all the machlokot between Abaye and Rava, right? Because it's all through Shas. So usually the halacha is like Rava, except for Yal Kigam. What does that mean? The halacha is like Abaye in 6 different machlokot, and the ayin, right, of Ya'al Kigam is ed. So therefore the halacha is that an ed is nifsal lemafreya, just like Abaye. That means if somebody's going to ask you, an ed zomem, so when does it become pasul? So you're going to tell me retroactively. That's like Abaye. Yeah, we paskin like Abaye. Why? We paskin like Abaye, biyal kigam. And the ayin of ya'al is ed. And therefore that's what we paskin like Abaye. Okay? Fine. Next. Okay? Mumar ochel nevelot leteavon. When you have a mumar which is eating nevelot, leteavon. Right? Remember the leteavon is the opposite of lachis. Lachis means somebody's angry at God. He wants to spite God. That's the terminology. Here, he's leteavon. Leteavon just means, listen, he wants to have a good cheeseburger. Right? He wants to have a good... So, he says here, mumar is ochel nevelot leteavon. According to everybody, divrei kol, he says he's going to be pasul edut. Why? Because since he's doing it for revach of mammon, obviously it comes out, right, that he's a rasha, and he's not going to be believed to testify. But again, remember, any single time that we're going to believe that you're going to accept money for a certain reason, so therefore you would accept a bribe in order to testify falsely, because at the end of the day, the betza, right, the money, right, is going to be very, very, how do you call this? Is going to be very, very tasty that you want to come and you're going to testify. Says lachis, right? What about if it's going to be lachis? So he comes and he says, meaning that you're eating the nevela, but you're only doing it just to spite. So he says, Abaye comes and he says, right? He says, pasul, he's going to be pasul edut. And Rava comes and he says, it's going to be kashel edut. So let's explain. Abaye amar pasul. Abaye comes and he says, it's going to be pasul edut. Why? Tavale rasha. Abaye says, 1 second, at the end of the day, he's a rasha. So if he's a rasha, there's nothing what to talk about. What do you want? Rahman Amar, the Torah says, Al tashet yadecha rasha. But Rava Amar, Rava comes and he says, kasher, he's going to be kasher la'edut. Why? He says, rasha de chamas bainan. He says, in order for you to become pasul, you need a pasul of chamas, which means a gazlan, or anything which is domeh to it to do with money. Meaning it has nothing to do with money. So why am I going to testify? Why am I going to think that you're going, meaning like this? What Rav is coming in ultimately, meaning Abai is very simple. Abai just says, listen, Rasha is Rasha, Gamarnu. He's a Rasha, nothing more to talk about. Yeah, so that's it. Rava comes and he says, 1 second, go a little bit deeper. What's the reasoning behind it? The reasoning behind it is because of what? It's because there's the Tava of Mammon. There's a drive. There's something which is driving you for money. And therefore, if I suspect that if I see that you're doing these things of money, you're going to come and you're going to do the same thing for a false testimony because you're driven by money. Here has nothing to do with money, right? A person comes and lachis, he just wants to come and he wants to eat non-kosher. You're going to ask him, but here I'm giving it to you for the exact same price. I don't care. So now, why am I going to testify now that why am I going to suspect that he's going to testify falsely? What does he have to do with the testifying falsely? Nothing. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Just because he deviates from Hashem, does that mean that the guy is going to come and he's going to steal? So why you don't accept? No. He's not afraid to do it. Again, one more time. Nothing. But that has nothing to do with an avera. Nothing to do with an avera. If right now, I'm going to ask you a question. According to you, a goy will always testify falsely. No, he's afraid of doing it or not. There's nothing to do with it. 1 minute. No. Right? It has nothing to do with anything. A person could be trustworthy, whether he is or not. If a person wants to come and he wants to spite God for a certain aspect, has nothing to do with the testimony that he's testifying. According to Abaye says it's not the human being. The human being is going to be a psul. It's a psul. According to Rava, no, nothing to do with it. No, it's not. Because to make kiddushin, you need a chalot. You need to make a kiddushin. That's something completely different. That's what I'm talking about. To become no. I'm sorry. Because he's not there. It's nothing to do with one and another. Let's continue. Right? Meitvei. So the Gemara is going to ask the following question. Yeah? The Gemara is going to ask a following question. That's the Gemara Meitvei. So we're going to ask the following question. Al tashet rasha ed. Al tashet chamas ed. Elu gazlarin mu'alim b'shvit. When it says in the pasuk, Al tashet yadecha im rasha, liot ed chamas. Again, one more time. That is the pasuk. The pasuk is Al tashet yadecha im rasha liot ed chamas. You have it in Torah Ora Shalom on the left side if you see it. Okay, that's the pasuk. Lo tisa shem hashav, do not testify falsely. Al tashet yadecha im rasha liot ed chamas. What is the pirush? Al tashet rasha ed ve'al tashet chamas ed. Elu gazanim mu'alim b'shvit. Which means that it's mashma over here that it's two different things. And it's, first of all, you cannot have a rasha to be an ed. And number two, you cannot have a person that's going after Hamas to be ed. And what is the Hamas? Hamas is of running after the money. Gezel. Right? The Gezel, Gazlanim. So says the Gemara, Maila vechad shvuat shav vechad shvuat mamon. Doesn't it mean that because when you said now, umualim b'shavuot, so shavuot is in plural. So does that not mean that first of all you've got shavua lechinam and shavua lesheker, right? So therefore both of them are going to be pasul leedut, which means that here you have a pasul leedut, even though he has nothing to do with the rasha of money. That's what we're trying to say. So answers the Gemara, no, it's not true. Everything has to do with money. Umay shavuot. So why does it say shavuot then? Because shavuot is in plural. So he says shavuot de alma. Shavuot, right? In many different cases of money. So anytime that he's going to come and he's going to testify falsely about the Shavuot, that's where you have it. So now we're going to flip it. Now we're going to ask on Abaye. Meitve, we're going to ask a question. When it says Al Tashet Hamas, and it says Al Tashet Rasha Ed, Al Tashet Hamas Ed, is Elu Gazlaninu Mulave Bribit, Ribiot, right? That they're going to be Psulim Ledut. So it's mashma dafka Gazlaninu Mulave Bribit, that it has to do with things of money. But stam mashma anything else, right? It's not. So this is Tufta Dabai. This is a question against the Dabai. Yeah? Tufta. It's true. It's a good question. Why? Because you realize that this Braita, right? Again, remember, Meitvei, when we're going to learn, Meitvei is usually coming from a Braita. They're asking a question from a Braita. So the Braita says, right? Al Tashet Rasha Ed, Al Tashet Hamas Ed, these are Gazlanim Lave Bribiyut. This has to do with only money things. Meaning it's giving you the examples. What is a person which is Pasul Edut, Gazlan, or Melave Bribit? Why? But somebody that's lending out with interest, Bribit, obviously is money hungry. And therefore, that all has to do with money. So it's mashma that anything that does not have to do with money, he's kosher le'edut. Says the Gemara, you're right, tufta. It's a good question against the Baye. Meaning from this Braita, it's actually a question against the Baye. Because the Baye wanted to make any single person that's at a shah disqualified, even if he's not being whatever it is. It's not true. Well, whoever told you, maybe only has to do with money. So says the Gemara, 1 second, you know what? Neima katanai. Why don't I just say that the machloket between Abaye and Rava is actually a machloket tanaim, right? What does that mean? Many times you're going to see that the Gemara always wants to bring it to a higher level. So, for example, let's say we're going to say that we have a machloket on something, and then we say, 1 second, do you know that our machloket, really be'emet, didn't start with us? Our machloket started already 200 years ago, and this is the machloket. And it started between, let's say, the Gaon Vilna and whatever it is. You understand? That's what they always try to do. Right? Exactly. So what happens? Nema katanai. What did we just say? It's another machloket tanaim. Ed zomem pasul lechol Torah kula, divrei Rabbi Meir. Says Rabbi Meir, an ed zomem is going to be pasul for anything in the Torah. If he's an ed zomem. Rabbi Yosef says, what are these words? Keshu uzam bedinei nefashot. Only if he's going to be uzam for dinei nefashot. Aval huzam bedinei mamonot. But if he's going to become huzam for dinei mamonot, kasher ledine nefashot. He's going to be kasher for dine nefashot, right? Now the svara obviously makes sense because, for example, not because I was going to be taken to testimony, right, or I became an edzomem about a money matter, am I going to let somebody be killed? It's two completely different levels. You understand? Some people it could be, right? It can be for money, but usually no. Usually nefashot means that they're going to kill him. Some people they could steal, but they won't kill.
No, bribery.
What?
Bribery.
But they will never kill someone. No, they will never.
But it cannot be it for that because it can also bribe.
No, but that's what we're saying again. One more time. The dinei mamonot and dinei nefashot are two completely different things, which means that you could have somebody that will come and he'll steal, but he'll never kill. And therefore, since he'll steal and he'll never kill, right? They do.
Witnessing a murder and testifying that there was actually the murder. So you could potentially be killing.
But if you don't trust this person because it's Mammon on any on a shoe case, okay, why would you trust him on any case? Because the party can come in.
Again, says no, because nobody will ever bribe me to kill someone.
They do it.
But what's their dude? The dude is on. But their dude is what? That he killed, and therefore we have to kill him.
Yeah.
They will never suspect you on that. It's two completely different worlds, right? Put it like this. I could bribe you. I could. No, that's not true. There's always red lines. There are certain people that they have a red lines, right? No. But it's not suspected, right? It's not suspected. Do you know that there's even in goy terms, there's a difference between an armed robbery and I don't remember what there are. There's different like a thing. What does that mean? Certain people they'll come and they'll steal, but they'll never kill you. Other people they'll kill. What does that mean? There are certain people that it depends. They could come, they could rob 20 banks, but they'll never kill a human being. Why? Because for them, it's a red line.
So how do you define the person if he's already corrupt?
Again, one more time. 1 second. Let's 1 minute, guys. We have to stay on track. Right? Says the Gemara, says Rabbi Yosef, when do we say these words? Keshuzam bedinin nefashot. if he came and he became Huzam Bedinin Nefashot, so therefore, obviously, I'm going to suspect him on everything. Because if he was just willing to kill the guy, and therefore he became an Ed Zomem on that, for sure he became Ed Zomem on everything. Because if he was willing, Mamash, to murder someone, so if Mamash is willing to testify falsely about money just being transaction from one person to another, but if it's going to be the other way around, no. So why don't we just say that Abaya holds like Rabbi Meir, and Rava holds like Rabbi Yosef? So says the Gemara, Abaya could Rabbi Meir, Abaya holds like Rabbi Meir, the Amar that he says, Amrinan mikula lechumra. We're going to say that from a kula to a chumra, meaning since we're going to suspect you on something kal, we're also going to suspect you on dinei nefashot. And that's what Abaye actually says. Abaye says, if right now we're going to come and we're going to be over on the isur of lachis, so obviously he's going to be over on this as well. But Rava damar Rabbi Yosef, and Rava holds like Rabbi Yosef, damar mi chumra lekula amrin and mikula lechumra amrin. That we go from chumra to a kula, but not from a kula to a chumra. Meaning, according to Shitat Rava, I don't go the other way around. I only go from a chumra downwards. Meaning, if I suspect you of being mechalel Shabbat, so then also you won't put on tzitzit, or you won't put on tefillin. But the other way around, I'm not going to come, right? And I'm not going to go upwards from a kula to a chumra. Okay, that's what we're not going to say. Why? Because whoever said that he's going to do something that bad, meaning there's levels. And therefore, I'm not going to suspect that he's going, because he's doing this Averah, he's also going to be suspected of this. That you don't say. So says the Gemara, no, it's not true. Why? Aliba de Rabbi Yosef, kule alma lo plige. According to Rabbi Yosef, nobody argues. So he comes and he says, ki plige aliba de Rabbi Meir. Meaning like this. According to Rabbi Yosef, it's true. According to Rabbi Yosef, he says, even Abaye admits that if somebody is going to be chashud for davar kal, he's not going to be chashud on davar chamur. When is the machloket? And shitat Rabbi Meir. He says, why? Abaye can Rabbi Meir very easily. Abaye just says, pasul, kamanu. Nothing what to talk about, just like Rabbi Meir. Rava says, Adkan lo kama Rabbi Meir, hatam. When does Rabbi Meir speak about? Kabe'ed zomem de mamon. Why? Because it's also ra la shamayim v'ra le briot. It's bad for both, for shamayim and for the briot. Aval hacha, but here, to do with nevelot lachis, he's only ra la shamayim. He's not ra la briot. And therefore I don't say that. This is what I was telling you before. You have a person that, for example, like what I told you, he came out of the Holocaust, right? And therefore he's mamash, he's lachis. He's angry. Why is he angry? He's angry at what happened to him, so he wants to take out the anger on God, and he kilu wants to anger God. Now, are you going to tell me now that the guy doesn't have midot, and the guy's not going to be nice to his friend? What does that one have to do with anything? Right?
They're nicer than.
What does that mean? So therefore, you see that at the end of the day, not because he's ra la shamayim means he's ra la briot. So therefore, says Rava comes and he says like this: when does Rabbi Meir say that he's going to be pasul le'edut because he's a rasha? When he was talking about a concept of Ed Zomem, because the concept of Ed Zomem was not only ra la shamayim, he was ra la briot. Why? Why are you testifying falsely about me? That now I owe money? What are you doing? So that means you're also not against Hashem, and you're against me. You're against briot also, the people as well. So there you're right. Always going to be pasul. But what happens if you have a person that is ochel nevelot lachis? He's eating non-kosher lachis. He could be the nicest guy to his friends. So I'm not going to suspect that he's going to testify falsely about his friends. Against Hashem is one thing, but against his friends, whoever told you? So says Rava, I even hold like Rabbi Meir. I could go like Rabbi Meir. When it has to do with Abaye is, no, according to Rabbi Yosef, for sure, 100%. We don't go from the kula to the chumra to the kula, we don't go. We go. 1 second. According to Rabbi Meir, he says it's a big difference. So therefore, Abaye could go like Rabbi Meir, very clear. But even Rava could go like Rabbi Meir. So again, what is halacha? V'hilchata kavateh d'Abaye. The halacha, right? V'halacha, v'day. Rabbi Meir is a Tanaim, Mishnah. Abaye v'Rava is Gemara. Right? V'hilchata kavateh d'Abaye. Right? The Amoraim and the Tanaim. Yeah? You've got, right? V'hilchata, the halacha is like Abaye.
Rabbi Meir זה ברייתות?
Here you have it.
רבי מאיר זה ברייתות אגב?
1 second.
זה אמורה, לא?
Here you have it. Look. Amoraim.
אמורה.
Amoraim, Dor Revi'i of Amoraim is Abaye v'Rava. Tanaim, you have here. Of course. So the Tanaim. Yes, of course. Rabbi Meir Balanes. Rabbi Meir is in the Gemara, is in the Mishnah. This is Braita. Right? This is Gemara. This is Gemara. So that's what we said. We said that obviously, right, many times when we have a machloket, right, and it's not only just Amoraim, it's the 4th generation Amoraim. So therefore, many times when we have a machloket between a Moraim, or whether it's Rabbi Yochanan and a Shakish, they were also Moraim, many times what we want to do is we want to put them up to, right? We want to put it up. I can't. How do you put it on the television? Yeah? You're right. You want to put it up to a machloket Tanaim. That's why we say Neima Ketanai. Why don't we say that this machloket Moraim is actually a machloket Tanaim? It goes higher up to the Tanaim. Okay? And then again, the halacha is going to be like a baye, which means that even if somebody is going to be ochel nevelot, is pasul ledut. Yeah? So says the Gemara, v'hai totav. Ask the Gemara, I have a question. You know what the question is? We just fragged up a baye. We slugged up a baye. You know what that means? We asked a refutation against the baye, and we said it was a tiyufta. You remember where? We said a tiyufta. We said a tiyufta against the baye 3 seconds ago. 3 seconds ago, we said meitvei. We had a question from a braita. The braita says al tashet rasha ed, al tashet chamas ed. Elu gazlaninum laver biot. These are gazlanim laver biot. Tiyufta da baye tiyufta. What does that mean? It's a tiyufta against the baye. And so you're right. It's a tiyufta. It's a good question. What does that mean? That means that you see from here that it only has to do with money matters. No one's just some in general. So how do you tell me that the halacha is like a baye? V'hai totav. We asked a tiyufta against the baye. Answers the Gemara. Hahi Rabbi Yosei. That braita is Rabbi Yosei. That according to Rabbi Yosei, we're not going to be posel from the kal to the chamur. And therefore, according to Abaye holds on like Rabbi Meir. That Rabbi Meir argues on Rabbi Yosei. And therefore, you can't ask from that braita onto Abaye. So ask the Gemara, V'tihavi nami Rabbi Yosei, even if you're going to tell me it is Rabbi Yosei, Rabbi Meir v'Rabbi Yosei lachak Rabbi Yosei? He says, 1 second, when you have a machloket Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yosei, how do you paskin? Right? We paskin, Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yosei, the halacha is like Rabbi Yosei. So meaning like this, one more time. You have a machloket Rava and Abaye, but derech klal, what's halacha? Rava, chazak baruch, chutz mi, yal kegam, chazak baruch, yal kegam. Very good. You have a machloket Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yosei. What's halacha? Rabbi Yosei. Yeah, Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yosei, halacha Rabbi Yosei. That's a klal. Yeah, that's a klal. So now the question is like this. So 1 second. If right now, what do we just say? We say that we had a question against the Abaye. What was the question against the Abaye? Meitevei. It said over there, right, about Rasha al tashet Rasha ed al tashet chamas ed. Are you with me? Yeah. Elu gazlanin u'malaveh v'rebiyot. Yeah. You guys with me? One more time. No, but you guys have to be jumping. One more time. One more time. These are the gazlanin u'malaveh rebiyot. There it's mashma only dinim of money, mamon. It's not like Abaye. Abaye said anytime that you're Rasha, sof pasuk. I don't care if it's mamon, nevelot leachis. I don't care about anything. You're Rasha. That's it. There's nothing what to talk about. Here he's saying, the Braita saying mefurash, it has to do with money. Says the Gemara, you're right. Tiyufta Abaye. It's a good question against Abaye. It's a proof to Rava, right? Says the Gemara, halakha like Abaye. Halakha like Abaye. You just asked the question against Abaye. And you said it was a good question against Abaye. Answers the Gemara, you know why it's not a good question against Abaye? That Braita is going according to Rabbi Yosei. And according to Rabbi Yosei, what did he say? According to Shitat Rabbi Yosei, right, we don't go from the kal to the chamur. We only go from the chamur to the kal. Meaning, if it was going to be on dinei nefashot, which is chamur, we go down to posel also dinei mamonot, which is kal. But we don't go the opposite. We don't go from the kal to the chamur. Meaning, a person that's going to be pasul for dinei mamonot does not become pasul for dinei nefashot. We don't go from the kal to the chamur. We go from the chamur to the kal, which is svara, which is logic. Okay, fine. So ask the Gemara, and therefore, what happened? If that braita is going according to Rabbi Yosei, Abaye holds like Rabbi Meir. And, right? 1 second, right? And therefore, right? Rabbi Yosei, right, is what? Rabbi Yosei and Rabbi Meir. So machlok between them. So therefore, you can ask me a question in the braita. So ask the Gemara, 1 second. What did you just tell me? You just told me that Abaye holds like Rabbi Meir, and Rava holds like Rabbi Yosei. When you have a machloket Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yosei, how do you pass him? Rabbi Yosei. So again, you have the same question then. So answers the Gemara, Shane Hatam, it's different over there. The satam latana Rabbi Meir. When you have a machloket Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yosef, you're right. We go like Rabbi Yosef. But what happens when you have a stam mishnah? Stam mishnah is Rabbi Meir means that we paskin like Rabbi Meir. Meaning, in a mishnah, you could have Rabbi Meir and you could have Rabbi Yosef in the same mishnah. And if they argue, we're going to go like Rabbi Yosef. But if I have a mishnah and in the mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rabbeinu HaKadosh, when he wrote the mishnah stam. He didn't write down, Rabbi Meir says this, and meaning he was satam lantana. He was satam, this is the, what does that mean? Halachas like that.
As long as not Yufta, then it's always Rabbi Meir. If Yufta, Rabbi Yosef.
Behecha satam lan. Where's the stam mishnah like Rabbi Meir? So he says, Kiha, the bar chama katal nasha. Because why? Because at the end of the day, this was actually not a stam mishnah. This mishnah, right, was another mishnah that speaks about the machloket between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yosef. Where's the stam mishnah that goes like Rabbi Meir over here? So he says, Kiha de bar chama katal nafsha. Bar chama came and he killed a person. Elmaleh reshkaluta l'Rava bar Yaakov, says the reshkaluta to Rava bar Yaakov, puk ayemba. Go look into it. If it's for sure, right, that he killed, take out his eyes. Yeah, and that means basically what happened is that they weren't able to give any more mitov bedin. But the bedin could still give punishments. That's what Rashi says. So therefore, they went and basically they said, take out his eyes. Now, it doesn't mean that mamash take out his eyes literally. It just means that whether it's going to be that you put him in idui or that you take all his possessions and then you have to give it to the people that he killed. So basically, they went and said, go look into it. Again, there's no bedin anymore. There was a bedin, you take no bedin, you kill him. There's no bedin anymore, meaning that the bedin do not have the power to kill anymore. Okay? So they went and they said, go look into it. Atu trei sade, asidu bey devadai katal. Two witnesses came and they said, he killed. Azal ihu. So Balchama went, and he brought two witnesses that testified by one of these witnesses. One of them says, that in front of me he stole, right, a kav of seorim, right, that's the barley. One of them says, in front of me he stole. Yeah, kata de burtia, 27b, right, a cat of Romach. So he says, right, now, even though technically these two witnesses were speaking about two different cases, but through both of them together, they were both testifying that he's a ganav. Right? That means they didn't speak about the same stealing, but each one testified. Elmaleh. So Rav bar Yaakov tells Bar Chama, what's the kavanah in bringing this thing? Rabbi Meir, like Rabbi Meir. He says Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yosef, lachak Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef Amar, uzam b'dinei mamonot, kasher dinei nefashot. He says even if he's going to be uzam b'dinei mamonot, he's still kosher for dinei nefashot. Meaning, what he was trying to say is, what do I care now that this guy came and he brought two witnesses to make him pasul in mamon? This is not a case of mamon anymore. This is a case of dinei nefashot. So therefore, they're still kosher for witnesses. So Elmaleh Rav Papi, he says to Rav Papi, Hanemile, when do we say these words? If we don't have a stam tana like Rabbi Meir, but here we have a stam mishnah like Rabbi Meir. Mimai, where do we see that the stam tana like Rabbi Meir? If you're going to tell me it's from a mishnah, the mishnah says, right? Anybody that's fitting to judge dinei nefashot is going to be fitting to judge dinei mamonot. Mani, who is this mishnah like? If you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Yosef, Ha'ika et zomem de mamon. You have et zomem of mamon. The kasher that he's going to be kosher, the dinei nefashot to pasul dinei mamonot. You have et zomem of mamon that he's kosher for dinei nefashot to pasul dinei mamonot. Elalav, but rather he comes and he says for sure this mishnah is going to Rabbi Meir because he says that if somebody's going to be pasul, right, kosher mamon, he's pasul for everything. So according to that, nobody that's going to be kasher for dinei nefashot is going to be pasul for dinei mamonot, and therefore the mishnah just says a regular general rule. Anybody that's fitting for dinei nefashot is fitting for dinei mamonot. Yeah, that's it. Why? Because that's going like Rabbi Meir. Meaning it's a little bit, like derech agav, like that. It's not mefurash that the Mishnah is like going like Rabbi Meir, but it's a diuk in the Mishnah that is going like Rabbi Meir. So says the Gemara, Mimai, who told you that? Dilma b'psulei yuchasin kai. Maybe they only made them pasul because of yuchasin, because of genealogy. Nothing to do with because of dinei nefashot, dinei mamonot, or things like that. It's not genealogy. If you're not going to say that, Seifa, the Seifa that says somebody that's going to be fitting for Dinei Mamonot, but not fitting for Dinei Nefashot. Amai Enoroi, why is he not going to be fitting for Dinei Nefashot? He says, Di Tazam, you're going to tell me because he became an Ed Somem? He says, B'Dinei Nefashot, Ra'ui Ledun Dinei Mamonot. He says, B'Dinei Nefashot, is he fitting for Dinei Mamonot? According to everybody, he's going to be Pasul, even according to Rabbi Yosef. Ela b'psul yuchasin kai, but rather we're talking about a psul in yuchasin. So hachanami. So to here we're talking about psul in yuchasin. So that means it has nothing to do with the stam mishnah of Rabbi Meir. That mishnah was talking about yuchasin. Yuchasin just means because of genealogy that you have to make sure that you're a kosher Jew and so on and so forth. So therefore, that's why we made you pasul, not because of any other reason. So says Gemara, you're right. Elahacha, but here kasatam lantana, we're talking about the Tanam we learned in the mishnah. Elu en apsulim. These are the psulim. Masechet bekuvya u'melavev revit. We're talking about somebody that's playing, like gambling, right? He's lending out in with interest. This is the general rule. Any edut that a woman is not kosher to it, so they're not going to be kosher. Mani, who is this? If you're going to tell me it's a Yoseh, you have dinei nefashot. A woman is not kosher in dinei nefashot, but these people are kosher. Right? Ella, but rather Rabbi Meir here. It is Shitat Rabbi Meir, which means that here you have a Stam Mishnah going like Rabbi Meir. Is a woman kosher for edut?
No.
Any type of edut?
Shalom.
Never. A woman cannot testify.
Yeah.
So therefore,
Not even in the case of between two women.
No child and
No. What you're talking about is to testify one witness if somebody died. You remember there was a special leniency that we don't want an aguna, so therefore we're going to believe a woman, or we're going to believe a child, or we're going to believe whatever it is, because there, isha daika uminsva, which means that it's not a real testimony. Okay, but testimony.
Between two women, a case between two women, another woman, two women cannot come and be there.
Never. There's no such thing. Yeah, a woman can never be an ed, she can never be a thing, how do you call it? Witness. So basically what we're trying to say is this. The Mishnah said these are the psulim. Who's the psulim? Masechet bekuvya. Let's just say gamblers. Right? Forget about all the rest. Gamblers. Then the Gemara said there's a general rule. Anything that a woman is not kosher to testify, they're also not kosher to testify. When you said that general rule, that's not like Rabbi Yosef. Why? Because even if he's Masechet bekuvya, he could still testify about the Dinei Nefashot. He's a gambler, but he could still testify about the Dinei Nefashot. Doesn't say that. It says anything that the woman cannot testify, they cannot testify. And therefore, come on, there's nothing to talk about. So that goes like Rabbi Meir. And therefore, since that goes like Rabbi Meir and not like Rabbi Yosef, so therefore that's Satam Lantana ke Rabbi Meir. So Kam Bar Chama Nashke Akar'e. So he got up and he kissed him. The Kable Lekarge de Kuleshane. And he was Mekabel al Atzmo to pay the Masa Melech all his lifetime. Meaning the fact that he actually came, right? And he realized how great he was, that he went and he said, you're Tamil Chacham, you're patur from paying mas, I'm paying the mas for you. I'm paying the taxes for you, right? Because he's patur from mas. Okay? Fine. So until here, we actually come and we see that really, we paskin like Rabbi Meir only because Satam Lantana ke Rabbi Meir. And since Satam Lantana ke Rabbi Meir, if a person's pasul le'edut, that's it. It's a pasul le'edut. Even if we had other svarot and everything, no. Pasul le'edut. Fine. Mishnah Kav Zayin Amud Bet. Right? Mishnah Kav Zayin Amud Bet towards the middle. Ve'elu en akrovim. These are the family members which are going to be pasul for edut. Achiv, v'achi aviv, v'achi imo. Right? We're talking about family members. So your brother, your uncle b'tzad the mother, balachoto, the husband of your sister, meaning your brother-in-law, ubalachot aviv, or the husband of. Right, again, this is talking about the achot aviv. So this is talking about the teopolitico, right? This is teopolitico. This is no. We're never talking about a woman, right? It's always the uncle. It's never a woman. Remember, we're not talking about ubaal achot aviv. It's the husband. The husband, right? The husband. That's why I just said teopolitico. I don't know how you say it in French. I think they also say it. It's not your blood. It's not your blood uncle. It's your I don't know.
The husband of your aunt.
The husband of your aunt, exactly. So how do you say that in French?
The husband of your aunt.
You don't say tío político? No? Okay, in Spanish it means that basically it's not your blood uncle, it's your uncle through marriage. Right? Ubala chotimo, the same thing, right? The same thing. Uba alimo, right? Uba alimo, right? He says like this, Uba alimo, right? The husband of your mother. The chamiv, the father-in-law. Yisol, the brother-in-law. Hen uvnehen v'chatnehen. Them, their children, and their right son-in-laws. Right? V'chorgo, or a stepson. Right? Levado, only him, nobody else. Amar Rabbi Yosef, says Rabbi Yosef, Zo Mishnat Rabbi Akiva. This is Mishnat Rabbi Akiva. Aval Mishnah Rishona, but the Mishnah Rishona, which is different, right, was Dodo uben Dodo v'chol haroi lerosho. Meaning that at the beginning it was even going to be the Dodo, which is again the uncles, uben Dodo, the cousins, v'chol haroi lerosho, and everybody that's going to be fitting for that, which means according to Mishnah Rishona, the kirva to do the psul edut had to do with Yerusha. So only somebody that could actually come and be Yoresh, he's going to be Pasul. Everyone else not. Right? This is the concept of Mishnah Rishona. They changed it. And everybody that's going to be Karov during that time, Haya Karov editrachek, if he was Karov and then he became Rachok, Hareze Kasher, he becomes kosher. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afenu meta bitov, yesh lo banim imena, Hareze Karov. He's still going to be Pasul leedut. Right? Which means that this. Let's say, for example, it was the mother's husband. So technically speaking, it's like a stepfather, right? And then all of a sudden they got divorced. Yeah, so therefore it was karov that became nitrachek. So therefore he comes and he says it's going to be kosher. Yehuda comes and he says no, even if it's going to be that the daughter died right before the edut, and he still has from his chatan children, it's still going to be pasul edut. Haohev soneh, ohev zu shushbino, soneh kol shelo diber imo shlosha yamim be'eva. Whenever you have an ohev, what's an ohev? Somebody that loves somebody else. I mean, he's like mamash. He's like a chaver that mamash. Like he's helping him out in the bridesmaid for the women, and a shushbin, right, is going to be the one that he's helping out for the chatan. Or a soneh. What is a soneh? He's not speaking to him for 3 days. Amrulo, they come and they say, Lo nechshedu Yisrael al kach. He says, no, we're never going to come and we're not going to suspect, right, a person, right, for sin'a or ahava, to come and to be a Baal Din. Says the Gemara, Menahan Mile, one of these words, the Tanu Rabbanan is going to the Braita, Lo yometu avot al banim. He comes and he says, right, please, private shiurim afterwards, right? Lo yometu avot al banim, banim lo yometu al avot. Ma talmud lomar, what does it mean now? Im lelamed, right? If it's going to teach us, Shelo yometu avot ba'avon banim, ubanim ba'avon avot, hare kvar ne'emar, it already says, Ish becheto yumatu. It already says it at the end of the pasuk. Ela lo yimetu avot al banim be'edut banim, because of the edut of the banim. Ubanim lo yimetu al avot is be'edut avot. That means from the fact that the pasuk is talking about avot ubanim and it's talking about lashon rabim, so we're going to say it's going to be posel be'edut even the acheav and the ben ach. So therefore the bazatz mashma lo yimetu shnei avot, which are achim be'edut benehem, right? Which means not in the edut of beno or ben achiv. Right? Or Shnei Banim lo yimetu be'edut avotehem, which is not the edut of Av or the edut of the Chiyav. So basically what we're trying to learn is how do we know that it's not just one father and one son. It said Avot ubanim in plural. Now it's not talking about everybody in plural, so it's adding in other people as well. So it's not only just one person, it's adding in the other people as well. So Banim, right? Ubanim ba'avon avot lo, you're going to tell me that children don't die because of the sins of their parents? So answers the Gemara, no, if they're acting like their parents, then they die like their parents. We learned in the Braita, if they're doing the exact same as their parents, then they will also die. You're going to say, right, or eno, ela keshe that's they have to be doing the exact same thing as their parents, then they will die if they have the same sins as their parents as well. So it says, you're going to tell me that they will never get punished? He says, everyone's Erevim. He says, no. A person will only be punished if they had the possibility to be mocheh, and they didn't mocheh. But if they actually came and they were able to be mocheh and they did not mocheh, then they get punished for the sins, even though they themselves did not do it.